Recently, the International Kyokushinkai organization hosted the 7th All-Africa and South African National Championships in Cape Town, South Africa. After months of planning by the local organizing committee in Cape Town, the event eventually rolled out with fans, fighters and instructors from all over South Africa arriving at the UCT Sport Complex. After completing their weigh-ins and registrations, day one of the event began with the South African Kyokushin Semi-Contact Championships.
There are two aspects. One aspect from an organizing perspective, if you look at the presentation, the sponsorship that's required, the amount of money that has to be spent in trophies, the venue, the stage, it takes hard work and a lot of work to do that. From a fighter's perspective, the conditioning that the fighters need to go through, the training, the hours that they need to put together. Because when you do Kyokushinkai karate, you need to be physically strong, body conditioning, strength and stamina is required, so it takes hard work. The future of the fighters depends on the fairness of the referees. The more experienced you are, the better it is. And also to referee in front of the International Karate Organization General Secretary, it's difficult, he's very strict. So as a ref, you need to make sure that you know what you are doing, both for the fairness of the fight as well as to ensure that the tournament runs smoothly.
Having qualified in their various districts and provinces, the boys and girls entered in age groups from under 5 years to under 17 years and weight divisions from under 35 to over 75 for boys and over 50 kilograms for girls. For safety purposes, all semi-contact competitors compete with gloves. The competitors would compete on a points basis, which in Kyokushin Karate semi-contact is known as clicker fighting. These clicker fighters are judged by one center referee and 2 corner judges. During the fight, which sees the competitors marked with red or white tags, the referee would count the number of successful kicks or punches landed during the fight. These points would then decide the winners.
Taken a lot of effort, a lot of people coming together all together at the same time, a lot of forward planning, a lot of strategic thinking to try and get everything together, and this really does take a teamwork to put these kind of things together. Occasionally you get the one individual that manages to shine and really puts themselves in front of the event and gets the event really rolling, but yeah, it took us a lot of effort.
The men's semi-contact competition has always been a high-paced, exciting component of Kyokushin Karate tournaments, and as was expected, this division made for a fantastic spectator experience. After a number of rounds, it was eventually local Western Cape fighters Daryl Dyers and Jonathan Williams in the final. Dyers, a former multiple national champion, would make a recent return from retirement and go up against Williams, who himself has recently returned from Japan and an intensive high-standard grading. After a closely contested round, it was Williams taking the gold medal.
No, the boys are strong. I train under Shian Kenny, Eitenborger and Honbu. I left in, now living in Johannesburg. So yeah, training up there, it's okay. And you know, obviously you got the benefits of the altitude and things. But the KZN boys especially, they're very fit and quite strong. No, it's quite a brutal sport. It has its challenges. You got to be strong in the game. Obviously, there's no direct punches to the face. There's a lot of head kicks and things, but there's a lot of strategy involved. You know, guys who are quite nervous, you tend to see that they come in bashing, but the good guys that keep their distance and they move around. So it's also a lot of strategy. It may look very brutal, but at the end of the day, it's how you get your punches and your kicks and your head kicks, and a lot of strategy involved. Yeah.
In addition to the day's full and semi-contact divisions, the event also included Kata. The Kyokushin Kata forms an important role of any student's regular training, and most students would practice Kata on a regular basis at their home dojo. The practice of Kata was developed not only as a method to practice the basic components in a pattern format, but also to ensure that the lineage of the martial arts style continues. The concept of Kata in its practical form is known as bunkai, but during the competition, Kata is demonstrated with a view to precise movement and technique. The judges would look for control, technique, posture, focus, and various other technical elements.
I suppose we surprised ourselves, and as South Africans we tend to be hard on ourselves. The display, the presentation is something remarkable that we've done. We should be proud of what we've done. And the officiating, the spectators, the fighters themselves handled themselves very well.
Day 2 of the 7th All-Africa Championships saw the fighters march on with a sense of excitement for what was to come for the rest of the day. As is tradition, the fighters are wished the best of luck for the day by the seniors in attendance and reminded to compete with good manners and respect for their opponents.
I would like to thank all who have joined us here today at the 7th All-African Open Karate Championships. Thank you for your support.
It is today all about the fighters. It's about recognition for the fighters and specifically trying to get selection approved for the year 2019, where they will compete in the ICO International Quadrennial World Tournament. This tournament comes along once every 4 years. It is every fighter's dream to compete in the World Tournament in Japan.
In addition to the local competitors, the event would also draw a number of fighters from various African nations, including Uganda, Mauritius, Seychelles, Swaziland and Reunion.
East Africa Kyokushin is only happening in our country, Uganda, courtesy of him. So he was surprised that he was invited to bring fighters. So he's so happy that we made it here, and this is the beginning. We hope to come back again.
The full contact section would see men and women compete in light, middle, heavy and open weight divisions. Kyokushin Karate full contact competitors do not wear any protective equipment, and fights are won on the basis of knockdowns, knockouts, or as decided by the judges at the end of each round. The style of Kyokushin Karate includes a variety of different kicks and punches, and due to the fact that competitors do not wear gloves, no punches to the face are allowed. For these fighters competing in the All-Africa division, this was their chance to qualify for one of the top 8 African contender positions for the World Tournament held in Japan every 4 years.
It is very exciting to me, and it is my last one as I'm aiming to Japan for the second time and to do my best in Japan.
This prestigious tournament, founded by the founder of Kyokushin Karate, Sosai Masutatsu Oyama, attracts the top fighters from around the world to compete on a knockout basis, with one winner eventually crowned as the Kyokushin Karate Full Contact Karate World Champion. As a guest of honor, IKO Kyokushin Karate was privileged to have the Secretary General and member of the International Karate Organization Executive Committee, 7th Dan Shion Katsuhito Gorai, in attendance.
Next year, 2019, November in Tokyo, Japan, we will hold the 12th World Open Karate Championship. And this particular All-African Championship is a selection fight for African team. That's why I was here
Africa and
to
South Africa Kyokushin
oversee the
Karate
event.
Tournament.
It's
is brought to
Africa
you by
always have
Dulux
potentials,
American,
and
specialist paint
if they
center
brush up
and
their
Gecko
technique,
software.
good preparation, they have a good possibility for African fighters to become top 8 in the world.
The practice of kata makes up an integral part of Kyokushin karate. This sequence set of techniques allows for a more disciplined understanding of the basic application of this fighting art. Various young ladies from the Cape Town dojo showed this practice in a more entertaining form on the day. With synchronized movement and a musical background, the spectators certainly seemed to appreciate the entertaining demonstration. The day's competition began with the women's division, which saw a display of full contact speed and power. After a number of tough rounds with no weight or age and no protective gear, it was international competitor from Reunion Ludovine Vedapodom in the semi-final against South African Mbali Nkombukhle. It was Vedapodom with a higher work rate, continuous circular movement and rapid high-impact body punches who scored the early half point, or in Japanese terms wazari, that took the win to go to the finals. After the first day and some brutal competition, the top 32 fighters eventually got the day underway in the 7th All-Africa tournament. By the time the fighters had been thinned to the top 4, each fighter would already have 4 full contact fights under his belt. Some of these fights would have seen the fighters walk away exhausted and bruised, only to begin preparation for the next round. The day's first semi-final saw former All-Africa champion number 1 Xolani Gumede up against a much smaller number 3 Zamani Lubanyama. Lubanyama showed a tremendous amount of courage against the more experienced Gumede. It was Gumede who scored the first knockdown with a Joda Mawashigiri or roundhouse kick to the head and took the win to move into the finals. The day's second semi-final round saw competitors number 15 Bonging Kosi Mayaba from KwaZulu-Natal up against Eastern Cape's number 23 Kobani Makama. Makama, who competed in the World Weight Category tournament in Japan earlier this year, has already been noted by many as the favourite, and with Mayaba and the large contingent of supporters from KwaZulu-Natal, the crowd were on their feet for most of the battle. Knowing that the winner would still have a brutal contest in the final, the fighters took a steady pace. Mayaba and Makama seemed evenly matched for body punches, but it was Eastern Cape fighter Kobani Makama that delivered more knee kicks to the body, snappy low kicks to unsettle his opponent, and fast high kicks that eventually earned the judges' respect and his position in the final.
Kyokushin is very good for my health, for self-defense, and especially I'm now working. I've seen that it helps me a lot when it comes to handling my stuff, pressure, and it helps keep me busy. After work I know what to do, where to go. It keeps me fit and keeps me focused.
Kyokushin karate has a historical reputation of being one of the world's toughest forms of martial art. One of the demonstrations performed on the day was the defense of a head strike with a counter punch, defense of a head strike with a counter front kick to the midsection, and defense of a head strike with a counter kick to the head. But it is in the practice of demonstration where spectators can more easily see the practical application. As part of the qualification for the top 8, Kyokushin Karate full contact competitors are required to perform wood breaking, known as tamashi wari. This process could help later in the tournament in the event of a fight and weight draw. Each competitor is required to perform 4 different wood breaking techniques. These include knife hand strikes, downward fist punches, downward elbow strikes, and downward heel strikes. Each competitor would choose their own amount of boards to break, with the amount of successful breaks counting toward their total. After the required 4 rounds of breaking, it was eventually Western Cape fighter Tolani Gumede who walked away as the 7th All-Africa Kyokushin Tamashi Wari champion.
Yes, it's very tough. I was so happy. It's nice to fight with these youngsters. They're gymming up very well. It's so good here. I must be prepared now. We go to Open Road Tournament in 2019 next year. So I'm going to be starting now to train more and more to make sure I want to be there. Because my aim is to be in the last 32.
It's been exciting 2 days. We've seen fighters displaying their skills. It's been an exciting period of time. We are proud of what we've done at the end of the day. Yes, we had about 48 fighters, and it's been exciting. The 48 fighters, what we've seen, the standard of fighting has improved a lot over the last couple of years.
After the top 32 fighters had completed the knockout stages, it was Zamani Lubanyama in white and Bonginkosi Mayaba in red, both from KwaZulu-Natal, who competed in the semi-final for 3rd place, and the win eventually going to the smaller, more courageous fighter, number 8 Zamani Lubanyama.
You can never know what's going to happen. Just pray for the best. But the up and coming fighters are too strong. See, now we aging, so we need to train 5 times more than them. So yeah, they were very tough.
The final of the women's division eventually saw reunion fighter number 41 Ludavine Vedapadom up against South African fighter number 42 Sinenhlanhla Gebashe. It was once again former World Tournament competitor Vedapadom taking advantage of her international experience that showed her dominance during the fight to ultimately earn the judges' respect and be crowned the 7th All-Africa Women's Champion.
Je suis très heureuse du résultat. C'est en fait c'est la fin de la saison qui se clôture pour moi et ça se clôture très bien avec une victoire.
She's very happy of the result. For us is the end of a great year and it's ending with a great result.
Yeah, from a Western Cape Provincial Sport Confederation perspective, we're absolutely thrilled to be here. It's been interesting to see what happens in the world of karate. Of course, KSA on board here with this tournament, the Provincial Confederation, the Department of Culture Affairs and Sport, and the Cape Town Sport Council all partnering together to put on a successful event. 7th All Africa for Kyokushin, as well as the South African Championships. And these events, to hold them in Cape Town and the Western Cape, we're obviously thrilled to do that. The whole focus of sport is then looking square at the Cape Town and the Western Cape area. Yeah, a lot of support then from local government. But I think for these fighters it was a tough 2 days, and from a confederation perspective we're very happy to have supported them, and of course happy to see so many sponsors on board and television. So yeah, good luck to the Kyokushin guys, who are of course part of the KSA structure, and that's important for us. In other words, they form part of the SASCOC structure, and that's very important, so that we know that the organizations are legitimate.
The final of the 7th All-Africa Kyokushin Karate tournament was eventually contested between two South Africans, being former All-Africa champion Xolani Gumede from the Western Cape and 2018 World Weight Category competitor Kobani Makama from the Eastern Cape. As was expected, Gumede, with a significant weight and size advantage, showed his powerful low kicks and body punches, but Makama countered with several speedy punches, knee kicks and reverse spinning high kicks. After careful consideration from the 5 judges, it was Kobani Makama that was eventually crowned as the 7th All-Africa champion.
It's been very exciting. I think more so the last day, because that's what I have been preparing for the last, I won't call it the last few months. I will say the last 19 years I've been doing karate, because I think it's a build up from when you start to the day which you are participating, So it has been a very good tournament. It was well organized. The standard of the fighting was very good. I think for me, starting off as 7-9-year-old, I was watching guys such as Shian Sweeps, Shian, Jason. And these are tournaments which they were, winning, and I've always wanted to do good. So today, this for me was a dream come true. And fighting against a fighter as good as Xolani Gumede. I've fought with him previously, so I knew what I need to do. I knew his strong points, I knew his weaknesses, and I think I did good in capitalizing on his weaknesses.
It's been quite fantastic in terms of the preparation. We've had sponsorship, we've had television, we've had local government support, we've had the official sanctioning of the national body. It's been a fantastic last couple of days and a lot of work behind the scenes.
After months of preparation and strenuous training, the 7th All-Africa Championships ended up as one of the most successful Kyokushin Karate tournaments held in South Africa in recent years. The event was privileged to have 8 Dan, chairman of Africa IKO and member of the International Karate Organization Executive Committee, Shihan Kenny Aiton Bogart, in attendance.
It's been an awesome 2 days, fantastic. I think we are all appreciative of the fact that there were some very good fights, and I'm very excited. We had 8 countries participating. Unfortunately, 2 couldn't make it. However, with the 8 that were present, there were some exceptionally good fights. I think that progress has been made in terms of development, in terms of through Africa now. And I was very impressed with what is happening in a short space of time, especially in a country like Uganda and Swaziland. We had Gorashian. He is obviously the secretary of IKO, International Karate Organization. He's also a director of Kyokushinkai, and he's also on the executive committee. So it was very pleasing to have him here. And we also did a grading and a training session, so we're very appreciative of the fact that he was here this time. We are selecting 12 fighters for next year's the 12th World Tournament, which is every 4 years, which means that 48 years have passed. So it's the 12th World Tournament, and it's in Tokyo. It's in November 2019, and these 12 competitors that are going to be selected is a great opportunity for them. It's, in fact, it's a great step up for them, and it's something which they are going to have to train very hard for. We were graced with the presence of the president of KSA, Sunny Pillay. He came especially to say, to greet us and also have a short meeting with us, and I feel that our relationship is one that has been in the sense of the 2 organizations, our organization being the full contact and the semi-contact. I think we're on a very good path. It looks very promising.